Hi friends, today we're going to talk about a concept called complex fractions. Now you might say, Wendy, all fractions are complex, which is true. However, when we talk about a complex fraction, we're talking about something that looks like I have one fraction divided by another fraction. Now, it kind of looks like I've exaggerated that middle fraction bar, and I have, because if I don't, it can be hard to read this. So this is what we call a complex fraction. It is a fraction made up of one or more fractions. These can look really scary, but in truth, they're pretty easy to evaluate once you know what they mean. So if I were to read this out loud, I would say 1/2 divided by 3/10, because it's a fraction. And when we read it out loud and we hear it, it tells us the way to rewrite it. I'm going to rewrite it as 1/2 with that division symbol that we don't see super often in college algebra, divided by 3/10, going left to right. Now that looks like something that is familiar. We know what to do with that. 1/2 divided by 3/10, that one's going to get rewritten as multiplication. So I'm going to rewrite as multiplication. And that would be 1/2 times the reciprocal of 3/10, 10 over 3. Hey, we know how to do that. So that would be 1 times 10 is 10, 2 times 3 is 6. So 10 over 6, which is also known as 5 over 3. So we've gone from this scary complex fraction to something very recognizable. Now that one just had numbers. Sometimes we see a complex fraction that has variables as well, and we want to rewrite it exactly the same way. So let's say that we had 1 over x divided by x squared over 2. And again, I've rewritten that center division bar in an exaggerated way so that we know what we're looking at. So this is a complex fraction. I have a fraction divided by a fraction. And I'm going to rewrite it as if I were saying it out loud. 1 over x divided by x squared over 2. Okay? To divide fractions, we rewrite as multiplication. So this is 1 over x times 2 over x squared, the reciprocal of x squared over 2. Remember that rule? When dividing fractions, don't ask why, flip the second and multiply. Or there's lots of versions of that. You may have grown up with a different one. All right, so 1 over x times 2 over x squared, this would be 1 times 2 is 2, over x times x squared is x cubed. So we get a final answer of 2 over x cubed. Okay? Sometimes only one part is a fraction. So let's look at another one. So this one is going to be x squared minus 4x plus 3 divided by x minus 1 over x plus 3. Yeah. Actually, that was x minus 3. Okay. So here, the numerator of my complex fraction is just a polynomial, but the denominator is a fraction, okay? Again, we're going to write it exactly the same way we would speak it. So I'm going to write it as x squared minus 4x plus 3. I'm going to create a fraction by putting that over 1, and then division symbol, x minus 1 over x minus 3. All right? Two things I want to do here. One, I want to rewrite it as multiplication. And 2, let's factor this polynomial here, x squared minus 4x plus 3. So in place of x squared minus 4x plus 3, I'm going to write its factored form. So this would factor as x minus 3 times x minus 1. Okay, if that factoring is uncomfortable, I want to send you back to one of the other factoring videos that will help you get more comfortable with factoring polynomials. All right, so that is still a fraction over 1. And when we're rewriting as multiplication, I'm going to flip that second fraction and rewrite it as x minus 3 over x minus 1. I noticed something here. I have an x minus 1 on the top and an x minus 1 on the bottom. I can cancel those two things out and then multiply straight across so that I have x minus 3 times x minus 3, which would give me x minus 3 squared. It would also be okay to write it as x minus 3 times x minus 3. It means exactly the same thing. Okay. All right, let's look at one more. So here I have 1 over x divided by x minus 1 over 2. This is definitely a complex fraction. Fraction in the numerator, fraction in the denominator. So we're going to rewrite it the same way we speak it. 1 over x, division symbol, x minus 1 over 2. And then we will change it into fraction multiplication. So I would rewrite as 1 over x times 2 over x minus 1. We flipped the second and multiplied. And then we would multiply straight across. 2 on the top over x times x minus 1 in the denominator. We could multiply out that denominator if we needed to, but in most cases we would want to leave it in factored form because we're probably in the middle of a problem and about to do something else interesting with it. All right, so when you see a complex fraction, don't panic. Evaluate it exactly the way you speak it, and it'll be okay.